Hello, my name is Millionaire Williams, the newly acclaimed author of Military Mom on a Mission and Advocate for Mental Health. First of all, I'd like to thank the city of Palmdale for this extraordinary event called Inkwell Palmdale's Book and Art Festival. This is my first time joining in, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And so, without further ado, I will share with you my story. As I stated, military mom on a mission and advocate for mental health, it describes the journey, the story that our family, what we went through. My son had joined the United States Marine Corps prior to 9/11, and when he joined, we were not in active war at the time. And what's so ironic about the story, how it unfolds, is simply because we were actually on a vacation, a trip to Virginia Beach to visit my sister and to go on to Jacksonville, North Carolina, where we were having a family reunion. So my children and I at the time, we lived in Los Angeles, California. And so we flew into Virginia Beach and drove with my sister and her boys and enjoyed the family reunion. So when we returned to Virginia Beach, we stayed a couple of days with my sister, enjoying the time. But unbeknownst to me, that while my sister and I were there at the house, my son had gone to the recruiter's office. His cousins had joined the military prior to us getting there. So he took him down to the recruiter's office, and my son was over 18. You know where I'm going with the story? Yeah, he joined. The recruiter talked him into signing that they could go on the buddy system. So I was quite shocked when they got back to the house. And here I was with my three kids on vacation, round trip ticket, and my son did not return with us. He had to stay there because they were going to go off to boot camp. And so I got back to Los Angeles. Walking in my son's room that next morning was quite, um, the word would I describe? Had a lot of cognitive dissonance going on at the time, I would say. Um, my son worked downtown LA on Wilshire Boulevard. He was in sales, doing wonderful, making good money, and now he's in the United States Marine Corps. I just don't know how all that happened, but it happened. Life has a way of having some twists and turns on you, and you've got to be resilient enough to bounce back and get back on your feet and get to moving. And so I flew back to South Carolina where he finished boot camp. And he was stationed at Camp Luzerne in Jacksonville, North Carolina, which is the largest amphibious base in the world. So a very huge base back there on the East Coast. Well, remember I said we were not in active war at the time, and 9/11 occurred, and he was called for deployment. He served 9 months in Iraq, Afghanistan, a few other ports. And when he got back, we had a huge celebration for him. We flew into LA because a lot of the family and friends were there. And I had gone into the restroom, and a very good friend of mine, she was in there. We were talking, and she says to me, "Million, have you looked at Jerome's eyes?" And I was like, "What do you mean, have I looked at his eyes?" She said, "Yeah, have you looked into his eyes?" I said, "No." I said, "Because my son is back from war and he has all his body parts and he returned. Not everyone returns from war." And I was like, "Why is she saying to me, have I looked at my son's eyes?" I'm like, doesn't make sense to me, but oh well, she's a very good friend of mine. I'll see what she's talking about. So I go back out, and I'm a huggy feely person. And, you know, I walked over to my son, not knowing what to expect, looking at his eyes. And I call him Champion. So I said, "Champion, give mom a hug." And he does. And I look in his eyes, and it was like there was like a moment of silence in me where everything just stopped. It felt as if somebody just drove a stake through my heart. And I'm like, I see what she's talking about, but I don't know what that means. So on the inside, I was cringing. But on the outside, I had to keep this smile. I had to keep my personality very optimistic and up tempo. You know, everyone's there. We're celebrating his return. And all the while, from that moment on, I just didn't know what was going on. So we flew back to North Carolina, and I had moved to North Carolina at this time. And so I was over at the base, you know, telling his first sergeant, telling the battery commander, the battalion unit, something's wrong with my son. They didn't want to believe me. Back then, PTSD wasn't really, I guess, the awareness that it is today. People weren't really understanding the term. Well, I even went to the general's office, but he happened to be in Iraq at the time. But I tell you, it was really disheartening because I didn't get the support that I thought that I would get. And this was the largest amphibious base in the world there in Jacksonville, North Carolina. So this place is huge. It's a city within its gates. And so what wound up happening, I was just very frustrated with the process and just could not believe that they would not get him help. And so 6 weeks after he got out of the military, he had a full mental breakdown. So I knew that that was my time to really go in and get my son the help he desperately needed. And I did. But I recall when we took him over to the mental ward, my husband and I were sitting there in the waiting room waiting for the doctor to come out. And it was about 5 hours later, the doctor comes out as if he's reading a menu. Well, your son has severe psychosis, PTSD, bipolar, and schizophrenia. And I sat there and I was like, did you just say what I heard you say? And he repeats it. I'm like, wow. I said, doctor, this is overwhelming to hear you tell me that my son has these disorders that I know nothing about. And you just reading it like some random menu. I said, really, doctor? Is that all you have? And I just couldn't believe it. So I got home, I wrote a letter to the Veterans Administration. I got my congressman involved, and I was on a mission. Let me tell you, there was no way my son was going to go out like this. I demanded to get him the help he needed. That letter to the Veterans Administration that I wrote, believe me, it got things moving. He got all his benefits. I was able to get him Social Security, disability, because he's 100% service connected with his illnesses. But when I tell you, I was desperate to get him to the other side of this and to get him to with this new norm, but how we needed to manage it. Even to the point, I recall at the time, I was vice president of the Chamber of Commerce back in North Carolina. And I had returned to school, finish up my degree, and I was going to get a degree in entrepreneurism. And however, because of what I was now confronted with my son, I changed my major to psychology. I'll be finishing up this year, thank God. And so I could better come alongside him and understand what we were dealing with. And I'm also a certified life coach and a licensed chaplain. So all of this has helped me to navigate him, to get him where he needed to be in life. And when I tell you today, He's doing fantastic. My son has been out of this 6 years or so. He's and he loves it. And not only that, he's doing so well. He takes his meds every day on time. He doesn't miss. He knows what he has to do because we've accepted this. And in the very beginning, I refused to be caught up with a stigma and a myth and the shame and the guilt about mental illness. Like I told him, it's no different from any other part of the body. It's just a different part of the body. It's the mind. It's your human psyche, your subconsciousness. And so I never treated it like we need to be embarrassed and ashamed. No, I'm going to demand to get the help you need. That's what we're going to do here. That's how we're going to handle this. And I did. And I'm grateful. And today he's thriving to the point that his therapist recommended he go for peer support counseling, for training, so that he could come along other veterans and help them and support them. And he's done a fantastic job with that. As a result of the book, I developed a monthly book club, which has been very successful. Every 3 months, I have a panel discussion, and I'm honored to say 2 Sundays ago, I had the Veteran Treatment Courts panelists on, and I had 2 judges on. I had 3 veterans that have gone through the program, that are finishing up the program, and a veteran mentor that's part of that program. But what was so incredible, the Honorable Robert Russell, who actually created this platform, was my guest. And I was just so delighted he accepted, he was able to come on. And then also the Honorable Judge Peter Cooten out of Charleston, South Carolina, he was on. And so it was just a great time that we had, and the information we learned, the questions from the audience. It was something that a lot of people have not heard of the Veteran Treatment Courts. And so this was really phenomenal information for people to receive. And my website address is www.militarymomonamission.us. Again, my website, www.militarymomonamission.us. Or you can reach me via phone at 323-435-6789. Again, my number, 323-435-6789. And I also have what's called a Facebook Live that I come on each Thursday morning from 8 a.m. to 8:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I pray for a different state of the United States of America regarding our military families, the governor of the state, and Department of Veterans Affairs, all those that are affiliated with benefits and resources and policy making when it comes to our veterans, our military families. I am certainly navigating through making connections throughout the nation with those that are willing to take up, the mantle to get our veterans the desperate help, the homelessness, the suicide rates. There's so many areas and arenas that our veterans need help, family court issues. The list goes on. It's burdensome to just know that our international first responders are dealing with all of these issues here in America, which is still the greatest country. And, we're not in a third world country. So I just still don't understand all of what our veterans are having to be confronted with and what they're dealing with. It's just very sad. And I'm here in my lane to do what I can do to help our veterans, our military families, get the help, the resources, the benefits that they should get, and shouldn't have to fight for this to happen. This is just wrong. And it's got to change. The narrative has got to change, America. We've got to do a better job assisting and helping our veterans and having things in place, and that it should not be this huge bureaucratic system where they got to try to navigate and not, it's unacceptable in America. And I'm here to do whatever I can do to change it. And so with that being said, stay connected to our military. God bless.